Hey, join us, chopping it up with Buck. We finally made it back. It's been busy, we've been doing different things, but we are here. I got Coach Ced Whitaker with the Carolina Panthers, defensive assistant. He's gonna be talking ball, talking about his story. We got it all, baby. Even Texas barbecue, which you know I love. Coach Ced Whitaker, a defensive assistant with the Carolina Panthers. Take me back, because you and I kind of became familiar with each other through the showcases. There's a Houston showcase that was started by Phil Camp that you were participating in. I've started one here in the Carolinas. Coach Terry Donahue now, who's passed away, had one in California where I first worked it. That's kind of how we got connected. So it's interesting, we're both Houston boys. I'm Missouri City, you're on the north side of town. But tell us how that showcase paid dividends for you to get to Texas Lutheran to now coaching in the NFL.
Well, just crazy story, it was a huge blessing, I'm very grateful for it, and I always talk to Coach Camp all the time, that's one of my guys. I'm always checking on him and his family, but it was a great opportunity, one of the things that a lot of guys don't get the opportunity to do is to get the chance to go to college, and even better than that, go play football in college, and some guys don't pass the eye test. You probably half a second too slow, and I like to believe I was probably one of the fastest guys, just got overlooked. But
and that's interesting because there's so many talented players in Houston, like and growing up in that area. But the real key is, you even growing up in middle school, you played in Avion Hurts and Jalen Hurts, so you were in the Hurt, and their dad was a head coach at your high school. But from a recruiting standpoint, the showcase is just to remind people, they give folks like you an opportunity to just go to college.
Yes,
get
sir,
that chance.
A great opportunity.
So when you were getting to your senior year, were you not getting left? I mean, kind of how did that?
Just going into my senior year, I wasn't, the starting guy, the star on the team, so I took advantage of all the opportunities I could, and the biggest one, which was stressed in my house, was your grades, your academics, so I made sure I kept up with my grades, and on the roll, whatever the merited scholar programs, whatever they had, I was trying to get into those things, national undecided and things like that, so I made sure I took care of that. And on top of that, football was very important to me, so those are my two of my main goals. I wanted to go get a college degree, and be the first person in my family to go get a degree. I wanted to go do that. But on top of that, I wanted to go do that and also play football, and I wasn't the guy that getting letters in the mail from the Division I school saying, hey, we want to offer you a scholarship, So of course, as a senior in high school, you kind of have a little anxiety, So to me, I'm like, man, where am I going to go? Of course, I had a few, offers, D2 schools talking to me, NAIA schools, and I actually committed to an NAIA school before even hearing about the opportunity, to go and pursue this senior showcase that they have down in Houston. So I got the opportunity to do that, and I committed to the school in Iowa. I never left Texas. I only went to Louisiana where my other family was. So, at this point, I'm thinking, man, I better go find me a coat, and probably like a little jacket like this in my mind was a coat, but had to prepare me for Iowa. But I was telling my dad, like, hey, Dad, I'm going off to Iowa. And of course, in his mind, he's like, nobody in the family's ever done this, so he supported me. My dad, my best friend, supported me through it, and then one day I found out about this showcase. This was in my second semester, my senior year. So,
and it generally happens in February, March, somewhere like that.
Exactly. So I found out about it, and it was a huge opportunity. I found about it in the mail. In the newspaper. So they said there was a few criteria you had to meet in order to be a part of this showcase. And the biggest thing that they said, you had to have a certain GPA. You had to have a certain GPA and had to have your test scores, So I checked both of those boxes. I had a good GPA, and because I thought that was important for my education, and then, I had good scores, So myself and a few of my teammates, we went up to the showcase and performed, like a 40-yard dash, do different drills like that in front of a lot of college coaches.
What was that like? Just what was the anxiety? What was the thought Because I've often talked to the kids that or the young guys that attend those showcases, and you can tell they almost feel like it's their last chance. And I say, no, this is your first chance. This is your chance to show whatever you get here today is going to be extra, but something in life is going to happen for you. But what was it like for you and your buddies that ended up going that day?
I could say it was, like you say, it was a lot of anxious guys around there. Everybody wanted to showcase their talent. Like you say, it had a feeling of maybe this is my last chance. Even for myself, I knew I had the opportunity to go play somewhere because I recently committed, but also I didn't want to leave Texas. Okay. I wanted to kind of stay closer home, to where my dad and my family can come see me play, So I had a little anxious and anxiety on me as well, So just going up there, guys are straining in drills and different things like that. But, the biggest thing is to remember it's just football. Just go out there and have fun, something we've been doing since we were 4 years old, and that's kind of how I took it. I went out there, I had the thought of, it's not my last chance, but more so, hey, this is my opportunity to be able to get a scholarship and stay home in Texas, So that's how I was thinking about it. But I went out there and, like you say, just play football.
When did you know that you wanted to be a coach? When did you know, like at that point, my career is about to end, or I'm getting to that point, I need to start looking at other things? When did you know you wanted to coach?
Oh, well, the biggest thing is I realized I wanted to coach college ball, later on. I wanted to coach college ball towards the end of my senior year. I always kind of wanted to be a coach. My dad, he raised me, and he's always my coach, my little league coach in every sport that I played, So I knew that I wanted to coach college ball, towards the end of my senior year of playing ball. So got the opportunity to do that literally 2 weeks after our last game.
How did that happen? I mean, some people say it takes them, they have to reach out, send a lot of letters, emails, just trying to get it. How did it work for you where you were able to 2 weeks later end up coaching, and now you've been on this coaching journey?
Well, gratefully at the time, my position coach, when I was a senior at the Texas Lutheran, Mark Carey over at UMHB, he was my safeties coach in college, and he actually talked to me about it. I told him, hey, coach, I want to actually be a coach one day. And he kind of talked to me about it towards the end of my senior year, like, you want to coach, and then literally 2 weeks after, he came up and he was like, hey, want you to help out with the safeties, and he made me the safeties coach, man, my first few weeks out of it, man. So I'm super grateful. Mark Carey, Braxton Harris, those two guys they were my coaches, and then the first guys that I worked for, biggest mentors right now for me.
So what was the hardest transition from being a player to a coach? And then, because everybody has to make that adjustment and when they go into it. What was the biggest difference for you as a guy that was wanting to coach, but knowing, you still have that player mindset?
Yes, sir. I would say the biggest adjustment, and I'm still adjusting to it right now today, is not running out on the field and wanting to be out there with those guys, So sometimes I think,
that still happens to me, and I'm
exactly. But like with that being said, I think that also gives me an advantage because I'm a younger guy still, so I can still kind of think like them, and it helps me be able to communicate with them a little more,
When they challenge you to see if you can still do something, you can still show them.
I can still do it. I got a little something still.
So you get to Houston Baptist. How did you and Coach Rule and Phil Snow, how did y'all hook up?
Actually, matter of fact, I actually was at Texas Lutheran, and I was there for 2.5 years as a coach. Okay. And I got a chance to meet Coach Rule or Coach Snow at a clinic down in Texas in San Angelo, and literally it was great. I got a chance to meet a lot of guys there, from different programs, great coaches, and 2 weeks later, I got a call from Baylor, and they were asking me would I would be interested in becoming a graduate assistant there. Coach David Wessel, he reached out to me, and at first when I picked it up, I didn't believe it. I almost hung up the phone. I was like, man, somebody's pranking me right now. But just talked to him. He asked if I would be able to get in graduate school, and then again, I took care of my business in undergrad, and it paid off to where I was able to get into grad school at Baylor, and where I was able to become a graduate assistant with Coach Rule and work under Coach Snow and those guys.
So you've worked with those guys. I've known Coach Rule and Coach Snow, and now they're together. And I think I actually met you when I came to visit Baylor. But what has been the thing now that you made the move from college to pro? I mean, a lot of people say it's a big difference. You've actually had to move up different levels all your life. What's the biggest difference that you see from a coach and moving from the college ranks to the pro ranks?
I would say the biggest difference, honestly, is that the players, they make a lot of money. That's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Other than that, football is football. The biggest thing is over all of that, relationships are relationships. Because no matter if you're talking to a kid on the Pop Warner level, if they know that you care for them, they're gonna listen to everything you say. And then you get to high school, middle school, high school, college, it's the same thing. You get to the NFL, now these guys have a lot of money, but guess what? If you show them that you care for them and you're there with great intention and you really want the best for them, no matter if it's on the field and off the field, they'll listen to you. So there's really no difference, with the teaching and things like that, but the difference is they just make money.
It's interesting you bring that up because you and I were talking the other day before this interview, and you talked about Stephon Gilmore, who has been at the highest level of the league, NFL Defensive Player of the Year. But he's a quiet guy, and I always tell people, don't let people that are quiet fool you. And you said something that was interesting. You said, I'm putting in an install, and I like this about a good coach because you still want to learn. You say, hey, Steph, what do you see? And then that opened up to some things that we talked about, and then sure enough, the game-winning interception with Kyle Pitts. Tell us about that, because I think some coaches think about their system. What you told me there was, even as a young coach, my players, I got to put them in the best position to make plays.
Sir. Yes, sir. Well, definitely a great opportunity to get a chance to work with Steph here with the Panthers. He's a great guy, great person off the field. And he's super, super intelligent when it comes to the game. It's a great opportunity for myself.
Former quarterback, like we talked about in high school. So he looks at the game like that.
He has high intelligence, and it's great to have that guy in the room because not only does he make an impact on the field, but he's also in the room to be able to tell the younger guys, hey, this is how it's done, or hey, maybe see it like this, or he can only do this if he does this, and as he's telling the players that, I'm sitting in the back like, oh, really, so it's great, just to have that guy with so much experience that Steph has, and the biggest thing is I love teaching, that's why I coach, but more than that, I love learning. And I always was told, in order to be a great teacher, you first have to be a great learner. In order to be a great learner, you first got to be a great listener, So
what's the hardest student? I mean, because you bring up a great point. There are some people, because you got to teach each person differently. The way you teach Steph is going to be different than the way you teach Dante. The way you teach, each person is different, just personality. But what's the toughest person to get to from your perspective to teach and coach and get them to understand what you're trying to have them do on a daily basis?
I would say hard or tough, just with everybody, I really value patience, you're not going to meet a person right away and get everything out of them, and that's the biggest thing. You just got to be patient. And once a person able to, they trust you, they're able to open up to you, and it may not take one day to get to know someone. It may not take 1 year to get to know someone, but it's just about patience, So I wouldn't say it's hard, Probably if you're an impatient person, the hardest part is being patient, So it's just about, everyone's different. Like you say, everyone's different. Everyone learns different, So my biggest thing I always say, never let it rest until your good is better than your best. And when I say that, if I'm teaching a guy something and his IQ or whatever, his understanding is on this level, but someone else's understanding is on this level, in my mind, I think if I teach him at this level, this guy's going to get it, So I don't have to speed up the lesson. I need to slow it down, and he'll understand it, And if this guy need more time, I'm always there to talk to you, for after hours and things like that. So it's just about being patient.
So kind of changing the subject, what do you miss most about Texas? You mentioned it a few times. I'm a Texas native, so I know there's some things.
Man.
And I'll tell you what I miss, but I want to hear what you miss.
I miss HEB. I miss HEB. I miss HEB. I miss
big grocery store where
sir.
You can find everything.
Big grocery
I can tell you
store.
where to find Bluebell if you haven't found it.
I need some Bluebell. Oh man.
I'll tell you. The thing I miss the most is Texas barbecue.
Oh. You got my mouth watering over here.
What I'm gonna do is I'll share some of those with you because Eastern North Carolina barbecue is good, but it's not home like we know.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Man,
What are some of the other things that you miss from home that you get when you go back whenever you get a break?
I would have to say, first off, I miss my family. Of course, I wish I could see my family all the time. But I miss one of the biggest things. I would say the food, the food. The culture. I miss the super country people that talk slow in Houston. I miss that stuff. Just different things
when
like
guys
that.
come through here, I'm sure you guys link with them, whether they're from Texas or Louisiana.
Oh yeah,
where all our people, my people from there.
Exactly, man. But I miss Texas. It's a great place. It's no place like Texas. I always tell people from Houston, we brag about Houston so much. So I don't miss the traffic. I'm gonna tell you that. I do not miss the traffic at all.
What's in your Spotify, your pregame Apple Music that you're jamming right before to get yourself, like we did as players, you still do as a coach?
Well, I like to start off with Joel Osteen. I get me one on the podcast. I'll listen to some Joel Osteen, and then after that, I get on my level. I get on my God. Forgive me, God. But I gotta get there now. Yeah. So right now I'm listening to Key Glock. He has a nice little album out right now. So things like that. I like to listen to what the players listen to. Just to be on their level as well.
And I'm sure you're throwing a little Tadashi or Lecrae or something.
Oh yeah, I got me some Lecrae, some Ken Jones. Oh, I love me some Ken Jones.
See, I mean, when I heard you say it, I'm like, yeah. As you get, my age, I still love going back to Tupac and Biggie, but sometimes I got to hear a little bit of that too.
That's so true. I have to get my day started off with something spiritual. I get my mind right first, and then I feel like God leads me for the rest of the day.
Who was the most important person for you with that? Was it your mom, your dad, your grandmother? I know you mentioned your dad, and I know you're close to your mom and family, but who kind of helped you with that, with your faith?
I would say my grandma, definitely. My grandma prayed over me before I even understood what it was. And I questioned my faith early in life. So that's how I know God is real. I can remember literally in the first grade, like, what is grandma talking about? And to think about it at that age, I know God is real. So I would say definitely my grandma. I pray probably 5 times a day, whether it's just me saying, thank you, God. I'm always praying. And that's something my grandma instilled into me. You always pray.
Yeah, and most teams, as you know, have a good chapel service where guys can come together. And that's always good, too, because, you're getting a chance to spend some time with other believers, but also just the fellowship of it, whatever struggles on the outside, because NFL is not an easy place. I mean, and it's if you win, it's a great week. If you lose, it's like, hey, what did we figure out? What have been some of the things that you've learned over your years here in the NFL that's kind of gotten you to say, okay, here's where we're going to keep improving, getting better, and here's some things that I wish I would have done when I first got here?
Oh man, every day I'm learning. Got a chance, like I said, I worked with Coach Snow and those guys at Baylor. Super intelligent guys. Coach Snow's he is the smartest coach that I know. Knows football so much. He's been in the game for a long time. But then getting the chance to work with guys like Al Holcomb, Coach Saravo that was with us at Baylor, Jason Simmons, guys like that, Frank Ocam, Evan Cooper, they get a chance to put their minds together, and I'm just sitting back and just writing all of the knowledge down, so I get a chance to learn something every day, whether it's in the office or on the field, situational ball. Those are things that I really never just thought of, the coaches talked about it, but now here in the NFL, literally everything comes down to the last 5 minutes of the game, So situational football, understanding the importance of third down, winning the red zone, those are the things that really we enforce here. And you get an opportunity to every Sunday to drill those things in the game, You're going to get it a 2-minute situation, so now it's more of an emphasis. I have to pay attention to those things now, whether you win or lose, you always get an opportunity to learn something in the game and then work on it the next week,
Coach Ced, appreciate it. It was good spending some time with you. And again, I thank you for talking about your journey with the showcase, because it's so important. I've had so many guys that I've seen leave our showcase or others and the success that they've had in life. So keep striving, man.
Yes,
keep doing what you do.
Thank you.